What secret could ruin your life? A while back, I was cheating on my wife with a co-worker. It went on 4 months, and I never really cared for the woman I was cheating with. She was super hot, though. After a while, my co-worker started getting really crazy and threatened to tell my wife, whom I had a child with and a baby on the way, about everything. Obviously, I kept trying to cut things off because I realized I was making a mistake. She lost it one night and was freaking out and texting me, telling me she was going to come to my house and a drunk driver hit her. She died instantly. No one knows I was having an affair, and my family went to her funeral. This secret is a bad one. When I was 15 and incredibly lonely one summer, I decided to make an Occupied account. For those of you who don't know, that's a dating website for people over 18. I looked probably about 17 at the time, but I guess I could pass for 18. So I said I was 18 on my account. I got a lot of responses from guys instantly. There was this one that stood out to me. His name was James. He was a 22-year-old college student, working at Tim Hortons, but me, at 15, thought he was the most intelligent and beautiful person I've ever met. We talked for 3 months, and then he turned 23. Now the age gap was 8 years. After those 3 summer months of staying up all night, we decided to meet up in person. It was Labor Day weekend when we met up. He picked me up from a gas station and drove me to his house. We lived 3 hours away, and I told him that my car didn't work, but really I only had my permit and no car. I honestly think I fell in love with him, and we hit it off completely. He was really attractive and different from guys my age. Guys my age would make fun of how I looked, because they were insecure themselves and teased me a lot when they were interested in me, which just confused me. But James would compliment me and joke with me, but never made me feel insecure. I really loved him, but when the relationship progressed, he was talking about having sex, and I told him that I was a virgin, which he was okay with. But after I turned 16, I realized that he was a 23-year-old man who could get in a lot of trouble if he was to sleep with me. I never told him my age, because I knew he'd be disgusted with himself, so I just cut all ties with him all day. I figured it was selfish to keep him around. He needed somebody who could be 100% honest with him. So in March I basically blocked him on all social media and my phone. He didn't know where I lived, and I never saw or spoke to him again. It's been 2 years, but I sometimes stalk his Facebook. He's actually engaged now and graduated college. I'm so happy that everything is going well for him. I'm only 18 now, but I hope one day I'll find a guy who is as great as James. I perform background checks for a living. A name-based check will not accomplish much as your identifiers don't match. If you ever end up getting fingerprinted, that could lead to a potential headache. Felony convictions should be reported to the FBI. It varies by state and can be missed. From there, you'll be assigned an FBI number that will correspond with the fingerprints that were rolled at the jail. Fingerprint-based checks are comprised of 2 aspects: a state portion for where you live and the federal portion for any other history. I'm not trying to freak you out, just providing information. What secret could ruin my life? I secretly take off my hijab. On social media, I wear the hijab. In front of all my parents, other family, most of my friends, I wear a hijab. Here's my story. When I graduated 2 years ago, I decided to look for a job, and I wasn't able to land anything. I came up with the idea to start interviewing without wearing one, and once I get an offer, I'd start wearing it again. I ended up getting 2 great job offers, which made me really sad that my theory of taking it off and easily finding a job was true. I took one and haven't worn it to work at all. I don't know what happened in the mix of things. I guess I started to like the attention men gave me, and I actually felt like I belonged, normal with my peers. It was a feeling I've never felt. Everyone started treating me differently, as if I was worth speaking to. I don't get weird looks anymore. I don't get asked weird questions. I'm too afraid to tell my parents about it, because of disappointment, and I'm even more afraid of the Muslim community finding out. Bullying and talking shit happens a lot to girls who take it off. I wear it to family functions, and when I'm at a place where I know I can run into someone I know. So yes, in essence, I guess I am living a double life. Say what you want, I'm okay for now living like this. I keep changing my mind on what I permanent want to do. I was picked on a lot in primary school. One kid, we'll call him Jonathan, got quite antsy with skipping ropes, and used to whip me with them before chasing me with it if I ran away. He also called me some pretty horrible names. When I was 10 years old, the bullying was relentless and spread to multiple people bullying me. If I told the school, they would tell off the bullies, but the behavior would still continue. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. As Jonathan came charging towards me with his friends, ready to start whipping, for lack of a better word, I stood rigid with a plastic tennis racket, and with all of my anger, spun in one complete circle. I didn't expect to move so quickly, nor for the racket to hit anything. I was quite weird and had poor hand-eye coordination when I was young, but the racket slammed straight to the side of his face, causing him to bleed quite heavily. He had to go home that day. I'm 17 now, and I've seen him a couple of times since. His head healed, but he sustained minor, temporary brain damage because of it. Prior to me reuniting with him, I genuinely thought I had killed him. I still hate how I caused all of this damage to him. Jonathan's friends were simply too scared to tell the teacher of what I did, for fear of how I'd react. Up until this point, I'd been intelligent, quiet and secluded. When I suddenly snapped and attacked, it came as a huge shock to them. They mostly stopped talking to me as well. People may tell me to try and reconcile with him, but the truth is that I will never, ever forgive him for the crap he put me through for 2 years. Edit. By brain damage, I mean minor damage. Nothing too crazy. His head did sustain a lot of damage in general, though. Just to clarify, the damage was temporary, not permanent. Some of you guys sound quite baffled by the fact that I could have done such a thing. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that if you've built up bottled up anger for a while, it would all eventually come out as one huge lash out. People have also been questioning how this could ruin my life. The guilt really messed me up during my teenage years, even up to now. It pales in comparison to other posts, but oh well. My whole professional life is built on a lie, and it's about ready to come down. When I was 22, I was in a bad way, halfway through my bachelor's degree, but with a building addiction to opiates and some mental health issues. Summer of that year, I was in a bad car accident. In addition to broken bones throughout my body, my head went through the window and my face received severe lacerations that required hundreds of stitches to close and left me looking very rough. As tough as that was to deal with, I also now know that I sustained a traumatic brain injury that left me very confused, angry, and overwhelmed by life in general. I wanted to keep up appearances, so after taking 3 months off to recover, I tried to go back to school. Within the first week, I knew I couldn't handle it. Too many questions about what happened, too much anxiety, and I had lost pretty much all my coping skills. When I got overwhelmed, which happened often, I would feel sick and scared and literally forget where I was and what I was doing. It was frightening and embarrassing, especially for someone like me who had always had high expectations placed on my shoulders by those around me. I had lost pretty much all my friends at this point, and in my mental state, I thought that those who remained would abandon me if they knew how much I was struggling. So, I told everyone that it was going great. Every day I would leave the house for 6 hours and drive. Sometimes I would stop in a parking lot. Sometimes I would just keep driving all day. I would find cheap used textbooks at college bookstores so that I could bring them home and study. I created elaborate lies about my classes and my professors in order to have stories to tell when people asked how it was going. I kept telling myself that I was just doing this until my brain worked again, and that next quarter I would go back for real when I could actually handle it. Problem is, things just kept getting worse, and as time went on, I became less able to get back on track. This went on for 2.5 years, until I was supposed to be graduating, so I lied about that too. I forged transcripts and came up with stories of why I didn't want to work in the field of my degree and hoped to move past it. I got a labor job and slowly found things working themselves out as my brain chemistry improved, and steady work kept me from completely destroying myself. Eventually, I had to move. For the first time in over a decade, I was finally free of my opiate addiction and starting to feel part of the world again. But I was still carrying the lie of my college degree. I volunteered in some places related to that field, and they really liked me. They liked me so much, in fact, that they hired me on an emergency basis. No transcripts required, and I've worked there ever since. Now, 3 years into my sobriety, and seemingly a lifetime removed from the pain of those years, they want to promote me to a career-level job that I would absolutely love. I'm so good at what I do, and it brings me so much joy, but this promotion would come with scrutiny and background checks that I know I can't stand up to. When I was so depressed, I honestly didn't think I'd even live this long. So while I knew that my lies could create this situation, I never prepared for it. Worse than losing this job would be having everyone around me find out what happened, so I am at a point now where I have to quit what I love, because they like me too much. I plan to go back to school for real and I think I'll do well. But the shame and regret of this situation is something I don't think I'll ever shake. When my sister was going through an alcoholic mental health crisis, she decided to tell our family and friends all of my secrets. I was trying to convince her to get help. She resented me for it and felt exposing me would take the heat off of her. Typical narcissist, if behavior deflecting attention away from themselves. If she is going down, she's going to take me with her. A lifetime worth of sins and regrets that if I could go back in time, I might change. Nothing I did was illegal, but some people consider immoral. It was very personal stuff that I never wanted to share. Well, everybody knows now. I was put in a difficult position. It opened conversations I never intended to have with our family. I offered to have an open dialogue and answer any questions. No one cared. It completely backfired on her. In fact, I received love and support, while she's been completely ostracized by most of Outlet's family. They found her behavior to be self-righteous and deplorable. Being found out didn't ruin me, it freed me. When I was 11, I was told to take out the trash, and I did. For context, my family had a grill with a box of matches next to it, and it was fall. But I burned some dead leaves for like 2 minutes, then I stomped on them to put out the fire, but all did was push it right next to our house. And then the house went up the flames, and my parents had very well-paying jobs, so they were able to pay for the damages. But when the authorities came and firefighters put out the fire, they were wondering how it started, and the authorities suspected someone jumped to the fence and lit up the leaves to burn our house down. Our parents, scared for my life, moved somewhere else, and they lost their jobs and lost a lot of money moving to our new house, and for the next solid 7 years, we lived like shit. and my parents still do not know that I'm the reason they have to look like that. I accidentally killed 7 people. I put a rag into a new water heater exhaust to keep debris out and installed it in a rental. I get a call a week later. There's been an accident. I show up and there's a ton of EMS and police. They ask me where the gas shut-off is, and I go down to shut the gas off and see the end of the rag I forgot sticking out of the top of the heater. Rip the rag out, shut the gas off, and head upstairs only to be told all the tenants were dead. I drink all day now and sleep. It's killing me from the inside every single day. But if I say anything, my family is ruined. We have a bunch of rental properties and we'd be shut down. I accidentally stole a bag of shredded cheese. I was 7 or 8 months pregnant and had my 2-year-old with me. He was sitting in the seat part of the shopping cart. I gave him the bag of cheese to play with and didn't realize he ended up sitting on it somehow as I was loading my groceries and putting him into his car seat. I saw the contraband, considered going back into the store to pay for it for about 2 seconds, and then realized that I was completely okay with being a criminal, way too tired at that point to walk back into the store. 16 years later, I'm still sleeping well at night. Edit to add, looks like we're all criminals or raising little criminals. All of the stories of shopping with toddlers were great, really reinforces why my mom never took us to the store. I'm one of 7, so it was her only alone time. Also, sounds like toddlers are the perfect accomplices if you want to steal. In 3rd grade, I cheated on my history exam. In 4th grade, I stole my Uncle Max's toupee and I glued it on my face when I was Moses in my Hebrew school play. In 5th grade, I knocked my sister Eddie down the stairs and I blamed it on the dog. When my mom sent me to the summer camp for fat kids, and then they served lunch, I went nuts and I pigged out and they kicked me out. But the worst thing I ever done, I mixed a pot of fake puke at home, and then I went to this movie theater, hid the puke in my jacket, climbed up to the balcony, and then I made a noise like this, hooah, 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 and then I dumped it over the side, all over the people in the audience, and then, this was horrible, all the people started getting sick and throwing up all over each other. I never felt so bad in my entire life. I have schizoaffective disorder. Most people do not know outside of a few close friends. I don't tell people because they will use it as a reason to invalidate me. Even when I've opened up here outside of the SCA sub, people have tried to infantilize me or have offensively tried to tell me what's best for me or school me about my disorder, as though I am not living with it, or as if I am not a functioning adult. The world likes to pretend it's becoming all woke about mental health, but it's not. So I don't tell people. If I were open about it, I think it would prevent me from getting jobs or making friends, and I think it would make people suddenly view me as incapable, as though they know best. Because people are fucking stupid, and watch things like A Beautiful Mind, and suddenly believe they know everything. I'm only working half of the time at work. I have managed to create a facade that makes it look as if I would work full-time on the project I was assigned to, but it actually takes only half of the time. Sometimes it gets a bit stressful, but most of the time I manage to organize everything in a way that allows me to do anything but my work at the office. On home office days I mostly play video games. If I get asked how it's going, I lie in deceit to make it look like I am fully tied to my work and the schedules and deadlines, etc. I got really good at this. I guess I could lie about nearly anything now, and most people would believe it. If my co-workers or my boss would find out that I get paid for a full-time job while only working roughly 20 hours a week, I'd get fired immediately. Additionally, I live in a small town, and that would probably ruin my reputation at any potential new job. I've been doing this for 2 years now. Edit, just want to make clear that I don't feel bad for my behavior at all. I don't get paid enough to look for more work only to fill my 40 hours a week. I nearly shit my pants in a Walmart but didn't quite make it. It landed in front of the toilet as I squatted mid-air. I ended up getting some on my pants and shoes. An employee walked in mid-shit and commented that the smell was the worst they ever smelled, and swore when he saw the shit droplets on the ground. I cleaned up as best as I could, but instead of leaving immediately, I kept on shopping. I get paid a 6-figure salary for a standard 40-hour-a-week corporate job for a massive well-known company. In a given week, I do maybe an hour of actual work. The rest of the time I am on Reddit or YouTube slacking off. I thought, when I got this job, that eventually someone would figure out I don't do anything all day. But here I am 14 years later, still doing f*** all, and getting paid a lot for it. Got busted with a lot of computers from my work, about $25,000 worth, and plead guilty to grand theft, F. They spelled my name wrong birthday, and I never gave them my DL or SSN. I don't remember it, I said over and over during my 90-day incarceration. That was 34 years ago, and I background check my name every few years, with a racy heart each time. Nope. Not there.